All right, Cooter here. Hi, everybody. Working on Ren's steering box and kind of wanted to show you a little bit about what I got going on. I've got one bolt. Actually, I just drilled through it with a 3/8 end mill. I only had this 2-flute one, which is really good for aluminum, but it ate right through that bolt, no problem. So, tapped in an easy out in there. And the core, what's left of the bolt, looks like it is backing out. So that's really good. What I ended up doing was I went and found, calling this 0, and I've measured off of it and marked the coordinates for the other 3 holes. I've got a little note right here. It doesn't necessarily mean anything to you, but if you lay this out, 0 as being that hole right there. I've got it marked as 0, X and Y. So I'm actually working on this hole right here. That just allows me to know where I am, so I can, that's not where the hole is, that's just where the table is at the moment. So you'll see as I go to move the table back, my numbers are changing. I can put this back right at precisely where that hole was in case I had to drill it out some more. All right, so what I'm going to do is, this one's backing right out. So what you can see is I've gone through it, made a hole down through the middle, and it's actually coming out of here fairly easily. So I'm going to repeat that on the other 3. And then I will have to find the coordinates as best I can get to that one. That's the blind hole that has the threads pull out of. So that one needs a helicoil. So at the end of the day, this is one of his 3 sheared off bolts. And setting it up this way in the Bridgeport, yeah, you could do this. You could have clamped this in the vise. But I leveled the box this way. It just gives me better control over everything. It allowed me to put a hole right down through the center or very close to it. And yeah, there's one old souvenir bolt right there. All right, so let me get the other 3 to that stage and let's see how things work. You can see the other ones are back here. Kind of the problem is it's hard to use a tool to zero in and find center on these. So I'm kind of having to almost more or less eyeball it. And this one I've already got started and I'll make sure I'm in the center and then we'll go from there. Same way. Okay, Cooter back here with Ren's PSC box repair. And we left off where these 2 holes here, these are the ones that take a factory bolt and run all the way through the casting. Those were fine. I just chased out the threads with a 12 by 1.5 millimeter tap. This one here is a blind hole that takes a shorter bolt, and we're going to make sure when this goes back in that we have full bolt engagement. That was drilled and helicoiled. I'll put some light on it. I don't know if you can see that. And there you go. Let me get some light in there. So there's a steel. I'll show you what the helicoils look like. Insert in there. And I'll show you how I got to that point and the steps for anybody not familiar with a helicoil. But before we get there, what I needed to do before I did anything was locate this hole. So what I did was I found a drill bit, and I'm not drilling this. I'm just using this for location, that fit down inside there as snug as I could. The next size up would have removed material, which is fine, but I really wanted to find the center of that hole. So what I did was I moved the X and Y axis around until I was able to get the drill bit to go right up and down in there. And these were my X and Y coordinates based off of this one being 0, 0. This was the first one I located. Same way, I used that as a 0, 0 point, and then I found the others, and I just wrote down the coordinates You probably can't understand my writing, but here's the first one. That's a 0, 0. Here's the one I just located, if the camera will focus. So it's a negative 0.094 on the X and negative 0.2087. Now that's its location in reference to this one. Okay, so it's over that way and it's this way a little bit. And I marked the locations of the other two also. You could take these dimensions and come up with the bolt pattern for the JK steering box. Not really necessary for what we're gonna do. So this drill bit's gonna come out, and I'll show you here. This is the Helicoil kit. Thread repair. Camera doesn't want to focus right now. 12 by 1.5. They come with these inserts. So these are about 15 millimeters long. So they're longer than the diameter of the bolt. You can see how they have a little tang on the bottom. That tang goes in first. So what they give you with the kit is a measurement. This one requires a 31/64 hole to be drilled. That they don't supply. They do supply an STI tap, which stands for screw thread insert. So these are specific. I have no idea what size they are. It would be a 1.5 pitch because it's metric. So the pitch on the outside always has to match the original pitch on the inside. Otherwise it won't screw in and it won't leave your new threads. So what you do is you drill it out with the oversized drill. You tap it with the STI tap, and then the Helicoil goes in with this tool, comes in the kit. This is the inserter. Sorry, I don't have enough hands here. Anyway, the Helicoil threads onto here. That's where the little tang comes in. So you'll notice a little tang on there. The tang lines up with that little notch on there. Camera doesn't want to focus tonight for some reason. And then what you do, and I'll show you this. I'll grab the tripod or Cooter Junior here to hold this. You wind the Helicoil in. I usually put a little Loctite on the threads on the outside. And then you unscrew this tool. And this is just some of them don't come with this outer plastic piece. I don't know, sometimes it's helpful to line it up. Then you'll take the tool out and that'll leave the Helicoil behind. Then what you need to do, because you want the bolt to be able to pass through the Helicoil, is you have to take a punch and just knock that tang right off. They're designed to snap off and then make sure it's not down in the blind hole. So what I have is just a pin punch that then fits in there, and show you at the end. We'll just knock that tang right off and then use the blowgun and make sure there's nothing down in the bottom of the hole. And what we'll do to end this whole process is I had to go dig through my bolt box, and believe it or not, this was the only 12 by 1.5 pitch threaded bolt I could find here. Had lots of finer threads, lots of coarser threads. This one's a little boogered up. I ran a die over it. It threads in by hand just fine. I'll torque these. I think Ren told me the torque spec on the JK box bolts was 70. He was going to verify that to see if PSC still says the same thing. And we'll use this bolt with a little sleeve, and I'll torque the bolt in all the holes with a torque wrench and make sure it holds torque. All right, so what I'm going to do right now, I'm not going to film all this, but I will change the drill bit. This is already lined up. We'll drill that out to full depth without removing anything and making the hole any deeper. And then we'll start the tap in there. And I'll come back with the camera in just a second once I get this other drill bit in, because I need both hands. Okay, we're back. The drill's in. So what I had to do, and I don't know if you could see this, I had to move the table back. So now I have a whole different dimension. Okay, I didn't move the X, I didn't go left or right, I just went back with it. So I had room to get the drill bit in. So now what I'm going to do is go back to my coordinates 2.087 is where we are at. And we'll get right there. 2.087 negative. Okay? Remember, that's based on this being 0, 0, X and Y. So it has no other bearing except where it is in reference to that hole. And I'm going to make sure that lines up right, and I'll get right back. Okay. So I just moved the table back again to show you. Just ran the drill down in there, took out all the old threads, went all the way down to the same depth as the factory blind hole. All right, you can see I just skimmed the bottom, so I took off a little material, not much. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that same coordinate. Actually, I'm going to go this way and get the drill bit out of there. And in order to this works out pretty good in order to get the tap started straight. Okay, so we're going to go back to our 2.087. And I didn't move X, I just moved the table forward. I can't read. And we are going to hand tap this, but all I'm going to use is the, because we're already located straight above the hole, we're going to use, some people would call this power tapping, but we're not actually going to tap. We're just going to get this started. Get enough clearance there, yep. All right, now this is the interesting part. So we're running this in reverse. I'm in low gear. What I'm going to do is just get this started. And that's it. Okay? Now what we're going to do is undo, loosen the chuck, run this up out of the way, and we'll just hand tap that all the way to the bottom. That just gets it started nice and square. All right, so let me tap that. What I've got here is just a standard square drive tap turning tool. I'll move the table out again. And I'll tap that to the bottom, we'll clean out the hole and get ready to put the insert in. All right, so give me a minute. I'm just gonna run this through. This is nothing that anybody that's tapped the hole before probably hasn't done. What does make it nice to get it started is using the Bridgeport. Since it's already set up, I'm right over the hole, I'm on the coordinate. It just helps to get the tap started nice and straight. Works really nice. All right, so give me a few minutes to get this done and blow the hole out, and then we'll prepare to put the helicoil insert in. Okay, so we're back. So ran the tap all the way to the bottom of the hole, blew it all out, got that hole nice and squared off, as deep as I can go. The tap never goes all the way to the bottom, even with a bottoming tap. There's a couple threads that you just can't quite get. It has to have some kind of a taper on it, or you'll never get it started. So what I put back in here is the countersink bit. And what I'm going to do is put a nice little chamfer on the edge of that hole so it's not a squared off sharp corner. You can see these factory holes appear to have some kind of a small chamfer. You can feel it with your finger. So we're back on our coordinates right here. And all we're going to do, turn this thing on. Gave it just a little chamfer there. This camera really doesn't want to focus today. Okay? That'll make sure the helicoil starts nice and easy, or as easy as possible. And really, that's about it. I'm going to get this countersink bit out of here. And next thing we're gonna do is put the helicoil in with a little red Loctite, let it set up for a little bit, and then I'll go find a sleeve to work with that bolt, the length we need, and we'll torque them up and see how it all works out. Okay, so here we are. Got the helicoil insert, a little bit of red Loctite. You can see what I said about that tang, that locks it right on there. And unfortunately, I do not have an assistant at the moment. Now, I think this tool is going to get in the way, so hang on a second. I'm going to take this plastic tool off of here. Okay, I had to take that plastic insert tool off of there, but I think we'll be able to get it. Hopefully I can do this single-handedly. Okay, she started. Oop, I should get you guys on camera frame here. Okay, so that's in, started. I had to take that plastic tool off. Didn't really need it anyway. And we're just gonna wind this insert all the way down in there. And I like to get it a thread or so below flush. The Helicoil actually recommends you go in just a little beyond flush. Okay, now, because that tang is there, all you have to do is just back this up a little and pull this out. And voila, one more helicoil insert. Now what we'll do is, remember I told you about that tang in there? What we'll do is just take this little punch, knock the tang off the bottom. We'll blow it out with some compressed air, make sure everything's out of there. Let that Loctite set up for a little bit, and I'll go find a spacer, and we'll torque these bolts down in a few minutes and see what it looks like. Okay, so blew the hole out, made sure the tang was gone. I just wanted to show you what this looks like now. I'm taking my test bolt, and by hand, I can feel just an ever little bit of drag on there. Running it right down in there, okay? And just to make sure we're at bottom, I'll measure it too, but yeah, you can feel, I can feel the bolt now bottoming out in the hole. All right, so I'm gonna measure the depth, make sure we're going all the way in there. What I'll do, see if I can do this single-handedly again and show you. Let's see what we got here. Okay, I don't know what the free length of this bolt is. We'll measure it in a minute, but I'm in there. I've got 30, call it 32 millimeters under the head. So let's pull this bolt out and see how long the bolt itself is. And then we'll subtract one from the other and we'll know if we're in all the way or not. Okay, so there's our bolt. Doing this backhanded in reverse here. Bear with me. Okay, so what I've got, you can see how I'm using the end of the micrometer, the digital caliper. So I'm under the head of the bolt, 50, call that a 50 millimeter bolt. We had 32 left when we measured it before. So I've got 18 millimeters of bolt down in that hole. And if you come over here with me, and we look, now you can see that's showing 24, but don't forget I'm in the middle, so I'm down in the tapered part of the hole. So we're getting full depth on these holes. We're getting all the way to the bottom of the helicoil, to where the bottom of the hole is no longer square. It kind of tapers off. Obviously for the drill bit, the holes are never square at the bottom. So I'm happy with that. We're gonna let that set up for a few minutes. We'll get the torque specs, get a sleeve, and get a torque wrench out, and we will torque them down. See what happens. Right. I'm back with you, Cooter here. This is all happening, I want to say real time. I've paused the video a few times because I just didn't have enough hands. But everything we just did with drilling and tapping and the helicoils, and I'm 5-10 minutes later, we're here testing it. So what I wanted to show you was my test setup. I'm not gonna lie to you. I actually did the 2 factory holes already because I want to make sure the concept would work. But what I did was I put together a couple spacers I had in my spacer box on this bolt that we were looking at earlier, my test bolt. And I got it so as close as I could to exactly how deep these blind holes are. So we're off by part of a millimeter, not a big deal. It's going to go through the helicoil actually. All right, so what we're gonna do, and in all honesty, I just already did, this is actually the last one to test. So I ran it in the helicoil hole here, the 2 factory holes here, and it worked beautifully. So you can see here, I've got the spacers on there. So those are kind of simulating, you know, what would be the frame of the Jeep where these go through. Snap-on digital torque wrench set to 70 foot-pounds. This particular bolt takes a 19 millimeter socket, so that's what we've got on there. Okay, we're zeroed out. You can see I'm just snugging everything up here. Okay. Went in real nice and smooth by hand. And watch the torque wrench. We're starting to build torque. Now, I haven't done this hole yet, so you're seeing this with me for the first time. We're about 50. I did the other helicoil hole, and it was no issue. The nice thing about having this still clamped to the Bridgeport table is it holds everything in place. There we are. 70. And it feels fine. Actually, the helicoil holes, believe it or not, feel better than the threads in the factory holes as far as just, you know, if you know how a bolt feels when you torque it down, you can get a sense of what I'm talking about. And so I just loosened it, and here I am undoing it by hand. So I'm gonna give Ren a call. Drop all that on the floor, that's all right. I'm gonna call that a win. We're gonna go put this thing back in his Jeep and with some new hardware, and he's gonna be good to go. All right, that's it for Cooter for right now.
Come back to here, Mike?
Yeah, at least if it does slip.
Trying to high lift the Jeep so that we can get the spring out. It's just getting in the way of the bolts. Nothing's easy.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yesterday was easy. I don't have that one in yet. Yeah, well, these are nowhere near the right length bolts. They're just, they're misboxed or something, and they gave them the wrong ones. Or...
Yeah. They definitely were not in the right box.
Just kind of like jiggle her gently, yeah.
Stuck?
Might be started. I think I got it.
Yeah?
Yep, I think so. Yeah, I think she needs. Like I think she just needs a little socket. Yeah. Now you want to be kind of like less than 4 inches. Right at the edge there, huh?
Just under.
Maybe one more.
Maybe one
Yeah,
more.
it's out here, Colin. I got it.
Not like a big adjustable. Do you recall what size this castle nut is right here?
That.
Or the pitman arm?
Almost there. We got the box in. We're just putting everything together. Here's our work area.
I might be starting to see the steering gear line. I think I'm coming up to it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And you were putting...
Yeah.
You get a little bit more.
Yeah, give me a little more. Give me a light right in here where my finger is. I think that's... See where my finger is right here? Yeah, there's the hole. Okay, so a little more.
Probably about a little turn.
That's
right there.
There it is. There it is, right? Or no, hair more, right? Yeah, you got the good eyes.
try it.
I think it needs like a hair more.
Yeah, yep. Another little turn. Oh, man.
Just eyeball it and see if it's a good clear shot.
Push in there.
Just a little bit.
What do you think?
No.
A little more?
Yeah.
More?
A little more.
Okay.
If you can. I didn't think it moved.
Yeah, I did.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Take some pliers and sandwich that in nice.
Nope.
Work out some air bubbles and see these big 38s turn.
All right, I'm able to drive out a joyride off the trails thanks to these guys.
Can I call you in a little bit, honey?
This is Recon 1 we used to get into the trail, bring the gearbox. Heavy gearbox, about 50 pounds PSC. Would have been a pain in the ass to hike that in. So thanks to Rick for taking out Recon 1, getting us all out there to get to work on the Jeep. Everything's good. We're off the trail. Head back to camp, the main entrance, and hopefully this girl will get me back home. She is off the trail. We are at the main parking area of Camp Abriqua. So just airing up. We're gonna check everything over. Drove off the trail fine. Steering wheel's a little cockeyed, but very drivable. Signals work. Thanks to these guys, these boys. You know, there's no better value in friendship than the club that we have here. These guys are lifesavers.
I plugged it into the lamp you gave me. Then I down.
All right, that's Shawn's handiwork.